Hey guys, I want to go fishing in the morning, and I want to throw a jig and some critter baits. Well, the guy down at the local store told me that if the water wasn't exactly 68 degrees, or was it 64? I don't remember. I think he said 68. Anyway, he said if it wasn't a certain temperature and I didn't throw a black back jig with purple pinchers on it, that there's no way I could get bit. And look, I've been all through my stuff right here, and I don't got nothing that color. What the heck am I gonna do? What's up, folks? Choosing crawl colors for bass fishing. Simple, right? Maybe not. Crawfish, crayfish, mud bugs, swamp lobsters. Is that a name? Sounds good. That's what the little boogers are. They're little crustaceans, scavengers. They tend to live 3 to 8 years, roughly. I've compiled some data research from biology articles, wildlife resources divisions, whatnot. Not just what Bubba told me at the tackle shop, which may not necessarily be wrong. There are 320 species of crawfish east of the Rocky Mountains. Now, I live in North Georgia. Alabama's right over here. Tennessee's right there. Georgia has 70 species. Tennessee has around 95. Alabama comes in at a 100. So you got all these different species, whatever, different kinds of these little critters in our waters. And we all know bass eat them. Bass love them. If you're up in the Tennessee River, those smallmouth, they live in the rocks. They eat little scurrying critters in the rocks. I mean, that's what they do. Spotted bass, largemouth, they figure out where the rocks are. They'll go get them. I mean, they'll literally inhale and vacuum one of them out of a crack. As fishermen or anglers or whatever you want to call us, we all struggle trying to pick the right colors. And sometimes we go down some rabbit holes way too deep. Way too deep. Vitamin A dictates, and vitamin A and the pH of the water that those critters live in, which basically means whatever they're eating, that's what dictates predominantly what color they're going to be, not what the water temp is. You're going to hear a lot of people, oh, water gets this degree, water gets that degree. Not per the biologist or the science. We can argue here, there, whatever. I didn't resource data from fishing websites. I went straight to universities, wildlife resources divisions, the science guys who don't care anything about fishing, and kind of went with that. Be what it may. If they are deficient in vitamin A, they're going to tend to stay toward the blue phase. That doesn't mean the damn thing's going to be cobalt blue, glowing and all that. Could be. They're predominantly going to stay black blue, dark greeny, pumpkiny blue. If they're just kind of intermediate vitamin A source, which is probably what you're going to find more than anything anywhere on average, the middle of the road, they're going to be in the green phase. Green pumpkin. You notice the green keeps coming up. If they are in a super rich environment of vitamin A, which means mainly what they're eating. If they're getting a good source of vitamin A, they're going to be more of the red phase. Is that going to be bright red, dark red? I couldn't tell you. Neither can anybody else. That's what I'm getting at right here. I don't know exactly. Now, when the water gets like 50 degrees or below, somewhere in that ballpark, they go into, a lot of scientists don't say hibernate, they say dormant. They basically burrow deep out in the mud somewhere, and they're going to stay there until the water gets back in the 50s. Then they're going to come back out, which is usually spring. Now, exactly what day of the spring, what time of spring, I couldn't tell you. That depends on temperature. And that depends on the temperature of the water that they're in, not the surface temperature. Keep that in mind. It may be colder or warmer down there. Food for thought. Sometimes the water temperature, just because the surface on your handy dandy graph says it's, certain, that doesn't mean that 20, 30 feet down or wherever could be different. Dirty water warms up faster, stays warmer. Clear water, yeah, that's a whole nother rabbit hole. Remember, don't go down rabbit holes. Anyway, they're going to come out when the water gets into the 50s. They're going to go through their little spawning ritual. Yeah, when they come out of the mud, they're probably going to be browny, orangey color. They've been cooped up in the mud. They're going to absorb the colors of that dirt. So, if they're in dark dirt, they're probably going to be dark. If they're in red mud, they're probably going to be red. See where I'm going with that? There's no precise color that they're going to emerge. They're not going to come out looking. They're not going to come out looking like this. Not necessarily. They're probably going to come out looking more like that. They're going to go through their mating ritual, which usually ends up, the males end up standing up on a rock somewhere, and they usually end up standing up on a rock somewhere. They'll put their claws up in the air. Now, they may be red, they could be blue, I don't know. They're going to stand up, they hold their claws up, they make little clicking noises. That's how they attract females. Okay, fish aren't necessarily the smartest critters in the water, but they're not totally dumb. They figured this out. That's probably where a lot of these poor bastards get murdered and picked up. They get, while they're standing up there doing their little mating ritual, bass comes by, scoops them up, they're gone. Easy food. Alright, we derailed. Basically, you're not wrong with any color you choose when you're trying to mimic these. You're not wrong with using a tube, a beaver style critter bait, a jig with a trailer. You're not wrong in any color you throw at any time. Whether you're just throwing this Texas rig, you're pitching this in wood, either one, or if you've got a tube out. I don't want to leave tubes out. My buddy Jason, he got all in a wad. He's like, tubes, he loves throwing tubes. Tubes are awesome. They mimic small fish. They mimic creatures that are scurrying in the rocks. But if you boil it down to the basics, when the water's in the 50s, they're emerging in the spring, doing their little mating ritual thing. They're probably going to look closer to whatever color of the mud they were burrowed in. As the water gets on up into maybe 60, pushing towards 70, they're going to be more black, blue, green. Here comes that green again, green pumpkin, dark green, light green. Now, they can have blue claws or blue accents. They could have green, bright green. Who knows? As they get on into the 70s, warmer, they may start turning more reds and oranges and bright blues. We're up on the Tennessee River catching smallmouth, and I look down the bottom of the boat, and I guess as one maybe Mike had picked up, I looked down, and there was a little claw down there, and that thing looked like you'd pulled it out of a magazine. bright red, and that beautiful, beautiful blue. Blue like this with a bright red edge on it. Just that real blue flash. That gave us a clue. A lot of the critters that were in those rocks that we were fishing, that color. We switched over to some baits that were very similar to that color and started getting bit more than we were. It never hurts to see what you've got, what you've picked up, what gets regurgitated into the boat, or what you see inside of a bass's mouth to let you know what color they're eating. But remember, there are about 100 species in whatever state you're in. Yeah, that depends on where you're fishing as to what color they are. Sometimes your geographical location is going to play a big part in choosing the right color. And don't let it get super confusing. The one thing is that they'll always be, the bellies will be lighter than the top side. So if you're putting trailers on or anything of that nature, just kind of remember, light side preferably down. If you're hopping that jig, that's going to look more natural. That's going to look like something they've been eating. They may be more prone to pick it up. Sometimes bass will do an investigative bite. They'll come down, they'll come down, jigs bounce along, they'll suck it in, push it right back out. They do it so fast you may not, there's no telling how many times that happens, you don't know it. You may feel a tick. That's up to you at that point. You can try to swing for a home run, or you can pull and see if you got weight, then swing. I tend to just see if I've got weight on the end of it. Unless it's just definitely, they pick it up and your line takes off, swing, they've got it. They're committed to eating it at that point. They've got it in their mouth. You know, set the hook. But if they do an investigative bite, puff it in, spit it back out, what is that? They may not want it. The fish that was the other fish right there, it may pick it up. They compete for food. That's how you activate a school of fish, especially spotted bass. You ever get one or two of them eat and throw back in there as fast as you can because they're all of a sudden like, hey, it's time to eat. Somebody flipped the switch, you know. The free food light is on. Get on it. Long story short, these colors can be confusing, and I watch a lot of videos and it's wild at people's perspective, or some of their knowledge is impressive and some of their lack of knowledge is impressive. It's like, you know, I don't know, maybe some dude at the gas station or down at the bait store told them some super secret something and they didn't verify it. Who knows? Don't go down rabbit holes. Don't get so confused that you're worried about one minute detail and let that ruin your fishing trip for the day. I have got all these colors laid out here. This is basically what a lot of people call Bama bug. It's a dark blue and a green pumpkin. This one is a green pumpkin, blue flash. This one's a killer anywhere, everywhere. Remember that. Green pumpkin, blue flash. Now this is called El Diablo. It's a little beaver style bait and it has got red, orange, almost a yellow, a black. It's like everything they had left over they shot in the dye. And it works in certain situations. That's what you want. This is river bug. It's like an OD green and a green pumpkin. None of them are wrong. I'm not going to sit here and tell you, hey, if you don't use this one, you're not going to catch fish. They'll bite it. They'll bite a green pumpkin jig. they'll bite a brown jig. Are you going to get more bites if you're closer to what the hatch is or what your bait is? Absolutely. The gist of the matter is, don't let going down rabbit holes confuse you. If you want to know the biology of stuff, look at your local wildlife resource division. The educated folk studies on stuff. See what they have to say about it. Take the basic layman's terms, apply it to your fishing, and go catch fish. It's that simple. Keep it simple.